And I remember she had a daughter who was of school age. And I was already in a position with her.
It's our pleasure to introduce to you Miss Folawe Omikunle, the Chief Executive Officer, Teach for Nigeria. It's our pleasure to meet you, ma'am.
Likewise, it's such a pleasure to meet you.
Viewers at home, for the purpose of those just watching, meeting us for the first time, this is the Chief Executive Officer of Teach for Nigeria, an outstanding woman, a visionary woman, an amazing leader, a leader of repute, an astute leader. She has been doing so much when it comes to education and everything that have to do with our education sector. It's even the result are outside there. I'm not going by the way of providing. We're just going to tell you some little things to know about the Chief Executive Officer Teach for Nigeria, Miss Folawe Omikunle. She graduated from Babcock University 2008, proceeded to the University of Westminster to bag MSc in International Law and Diplomacy. Coming back to Nigeria, she secured an employment as an administrator at Purdue Model Academy. From there, her quest toward education was triggered towards a fair and orphan that was enrolled in her school. She sees education sector problem as a systemic problem that needs a systemic approach. She has been outstanding so far. The results are there outside there, visible to the blind and even audible to the deaf. While she enrolled later at Montessori School, she joined the Association of Private Educators of Nigeria, APN, and she was the first executive secretary of this particular association. Back to 2015, she joined Teach for Nigeria as a program coordinator. Not that long, within the space of a year, she transitioned to be the chief executive of Teach for Nigeria. It's our pleasure to meet you once again, ma'am.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
And I will be your host for today. I remember myself, Solomon Alikon. With me here is my co-host, Olufunke. Hope you're good.
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now, as we proceed here for today, like I said earlier, it's going to be a wonderful moment because we are having an outstanding woman, a distinguished personality on here today, and we are really happy. It's so good to have you here with us now.
Thank you.
Recently, Teach for Nigeria celebrated 5 years. 5 good solid years of existence. This is a non-profitable organization, no governmental organization. We know how it is outside there, even business that are meant to make profit. You know how it's not easy for them to try within the space of 5 years. We see this as a very good and great achievement. Please, I would like to ask, how has been journey so far?
Wow. Thank you so much, Sulaiman, and thank you for that question. I think that I've gotten asked this question a few times, and I can say that it's been a challenging journey, but one that has been fulfilling and really rewarding. It's gone with its own, it's had several ups and downs, and it's literally what you would describe as an entrepreneurial journey, right? Because for entrepreneurship and for entrepreneurs, there's never a smooth road or a smooth path, to attaining one's vision or achieving one's goals and objective. And maybe just to share a bit of practical examples, I Teach for Nigeria, the journey for even launching and kicking off Teach for Nigeria started as far back as 2014. And that year was the year where, the year before, which was 2013, Nigeria had been announced as the country with the largest number of out-of-school children. That same year, it was the year where there was just a lot of attention and focus on all of the challenges. And I mean, this facts and data were there, that just showed that there was a dire need to really look at addressing the challenges in education in Nigeria. So in 2014, the Nigerian Economic Summit Group then set up the summit, and for the first time, the theme for that summit looked at education and looked at, bringing together stakeholders from public sector and private sector to discuss and address the sort of and preferred solutions around how to solve the challenges in education. And it was at that summit that somebody said, what Nigeria needs is Teach for Nigeria. And a group of people came together and they started to deliberate and they started to meet and they started to think about how to take this movement forward. So think about 2014 and the many, many conversations that were happening. And then think about 2015 when I then joined that same conversation, because Teach for Nigeria didn't launch until 2017. But between 2014 and 2016 up until 2017, groups of people were just meeting, discussing the ideas, writing the concept note, writing the business plan, figuring out the figures and the numbers, and even that journey then. I remember a few meetings that we attended where we'd share this lofty idea, like, this program and this movement will recruit fresh graduates and young professionals and outstanding, promising graduates like yourselves, and the idea was that they were going to teach in high-need communities, underserved classrooms for 2 years. And I remember vividly one of those meetings where the head of CSR there said, this is impossible. Like, come on, this is Nigeria you're talking about. If you're talking about, other neighboring countries in Africa, like, we'd understand. But Nigeria is too peculiar for its graduates who are outstanding to want to do this work and to commit themselves to 2 years, that they wouldn't. And I remember one of them's words was, young Nigerians want immediate gratification. So they're not going to, spend 2 years of their lives just teaching a bunch of kids in an unconducive environment. It's not going to happen. So you can imagine just that journey of taking that in its stride, right? And accepting that, well, people will say no, but we'll still keep going because we know where we're heading to. And so throughout, to your point, like, it's been 5 years, but we've had a lot of naysayers, which has been good for us because it's pushed us and motivated us, to show them that a lot is possible. I remember in 2017, we had very limited budget, for marketing and even like just sharing like the call for application that Teach for Nigeria had launched and had opened. And we're trying to recruit for fellows. And I remember then, we put out the call for applications, but when we were setting the goal for application, I don't think we're expecting to receive more than 2,000 or 2,500 applications. In that first year, we received 12,900 applications. And it was at that point, and when we started to see the quality of graduates who were coming in and applying and showing interest, that was when I knew that young Nigerians like me were tired of just complaining. They were tired of the narrative. And all that they had been looking for was a platform that actually allowed them to contribute to change the system and to contribute to make a difference. So my conviction grew from that point. And no matter what any head of CSR or anyone said about, not finding Nigerians who would do this or how this wasn't going to work in Nigeria, that didn't deter us. But of course, we've had challenges like, from being a startup, organization to growing towards, institutionalizing the organization. We've had a lot of challenges from navigating government engagement, to navigating even like just building the capacity and developing the, internal infrastructure needed to continue to sustain the organization and to thrive. So we've had a lot of challenges along the way, but one of the things that I believe that has been a key ingredient to us getting to our 5th year and, by His grace, getting to even our 10th year and just building a sustainable organization has been the resilience of everybody who has been part of this work, from the fellows to the alumni to the staff members who continue to do the work, to the board members and the co-founders, to the ambassadors. One of the things that I've seen as the common denominator across board is just that resilience, is that sense of possibility where, like nothing is just impossible. Like even if you're told no, right? We still just always find a way around it, right? We still you just keep at it, right? Until we get the result that we want. And I find that that has been a key ingredient to where we are today.
Thank you very much. Before I will leave you as to Ulufunke, well, I'm very sure she have a question. Like I said the other time, I forgot to tell you, she was among the 100 most influential youth that we have in Nigeria because of her great contribution to social development. Ulufunke, you have a question.
All right, thank you very much, Mark. Like you said Nigeria has quite the highest number of out-of-school children. And the most recent statistics says that we have about 10.5 million children that are out of school. So what do you think can be done to bring these children back to school, to bring them to school?
Thank you so much, Funke. And I think you've asked a very valid question, and a question that, in fact, I think every education gathering that I attend, there's always this conversation around, what do we do about the out-of-school children in the country? And, I think within that context are like additional questions to ask. First is, why are they even out of school in the first place? What is driving? I think before we can prefer solution, or any solution at all to the issue of out of school, we need to understand the root, what is driving, the out of school children across Nigeria. And I really do not think that we would get to functional, relevant, solutions, that sustainable solutions, right, if we haven't answered those questions. And I say that because there's some children who are possibly out of school because of the deep insecurity issues in some parts of the country, right? And so that in itself, we need to unpack it and then prefer a solution to address those sets of kids, who are in that demographic or in that location, right, where it's because of insecurity that we look at the root causes. Like, what are those challenges? And it's in that, questioning and exploration that we will now design solutions that will be, sort of contextualized to the need of those different areas, right? I mean, there are children who are just not in school because they've dropped out, right? There are children who are just not motivated in school. They're not enjoying learning. They don't find learning fun and engaging. There are also parents who don't see the value in education, right? And so, I mean, what happens? You go through school for how many years and then you still don't amount to anything. And so the children are out of school for different reasons. And I think it's important that we look into that before we then start to profess solutions.
Yeah, thank you so much. Like, the fusion is this: one day, for every Nigerian child will have access to an excellent education. But the reason why Teach for Nigeria has been existing is we have millions of children outside there that they lack access to quality education that will grant them a successful future. Now, there is standard to education, but we have stench to the standard. Who are those that you actually think that are responsible for this education inequity? This great injustice to our education system.
Thank you so much. Such a brilliant question. And when I think about educational inequity, I think about, how do I even explain it? So it's a challenge that there is not one person that is responsible, right? Like, there's several people, like everyone in one way or the other, is contributing to the issue of inequity in education, right? I mean, from our leaders and to our government officials, to our regulators, to, our business entrepreneurs, to teachers, to head teachers, to, I think I mentioned policymakers. Literally it's such a systemic issue that it's not just one person. When you think about the fact that every child, regardless of where they're born, whether you're born in the most remote, area or location in Ogun State or in Kano State or in Borno State, regardless, you should have access to quality education. Now, we have an injustice that is playing out before us where, because of some cultural beliefs or religious, beliefs, or because of, socioeconomic factors of parents and families, or because of, some, ineffectiveness of the school system and policies and what have you, you have issues around just the quality of teaching and the quality of the role models that we have in front of students. You have all these different things that contribute to inequity. And so you can't point and say this is one person. And so even addressing it as well, like in also like sort of like sharing I'd say sharing like the blame around this challenge of inequity, we also cannot say that one person is going to fix it. I can tell you for free that today, if we decided that, you know what, we're going to revamp the policy to ensure that equitable education is attained and excellent education is attained in Nigeria, I'll tell you for free that that is not going to solve it. We're going to sit here 10 years from now and 15 years from now and still be in the same issue, in the same challenge, because policy alone is not going to do it. There's policy, but there's the implementation of the policy. There's the ongoing assessment of the policy and checking back and checkmating it with, you know, the actual delivery and seeing if, you know, that policy truly is relevant and answerable. You know, when you look at, say, for example, even if we picked even just teacher development as the way and the solution to it, right? And we said, you know what, we're going to recruit just outstanding teachers across Nigeria, and we're going to give them superb training and what have you, right? But there are other key factors around teachers being motivated, teachers being able to access resources that they'll need to teach the students. There are other issues around, like even the students having a school system that is conducive, you know, having all the right infrastructure in place. You know, when you think about the girl child, for example, how are you creating a safe environment for all the students, but how are you creating an environment where the girl child, it's taking, you know, the peculiarity of a girl child attending to school is being addressed in that school. So when you think about it, everybody, you know, is responsible for where we are today in our education system. Everyone is responsible for how we've gotten to a place where, you know, it's only the children of the rich who continue to thrive and continue to, you know, live the types of the lives that they would, you know, that they want, and the type that, you know, who are able to really fulfill their potential. And then we find that children of the poor, you know, majority, you know, do not have the access, you know, and the opportunity, you know, to that type of education that allow them to be themselves, to fulfill their potential, because all children have got potential, but just because you don't come from a certain background, and just because you don't have certain resources, you cannot tap into your full potential and fully develop that. It's a responsibility of all. We've all, you know, and we all have a role to play in getting to a place where we have an excellent education, you know, we have an equitable education, regardless of where you come from, regardless of who your family is or who your parents are, you know, regardless of what disability, you know, or not that you have. But then everyone is guaranteed of quality education. And I really think that we all are to blame, and we all have a role to play in solving it.
Thank you so much. Teach for Nigeria to me is more than just an organization. They are blessings to this nation. And you've been doing the best. And we really appreciate, and we say thank you for bringing Omarcy into our society. Now, education inequity exists. We all know. Is a problem, and you see our education problem as a systemic one. Yes. Now, how do we redesign this education in Nigeria? Like, we all know, yes, inequity exists, like I said earlier, and this, you've been amazing, because we have men that even run from this kind of problem. Everybody can see problem, but they are not ready to provide solution to it. Now, please, how do we design education in Nigeria?
Gosh, I love that question. I think there are a lot of components that would be involved, right, in redesigning education for Nigeria. I think one of the questions that I think we as Nigerians first need to answer a question, right? What is the purpose of education for our nation? Why are we even educating in the first place? And I don't think that we would have a well-designed education program or system, you know, that would serve us in a way that would develop this nation and our children the way that we want, if we don't answer that question, right? So I think it's important that we first answer, education for what? Education for what purpose, right? And now from answering that question, right, we then take that. So if we want education to do X, Y, Z, if we want our education system to create problem solvers, you know, of like the social challenges and this and that in our nation, we want our education to be rooted in the assets that exist within our country and within our community, What will then happen is that our curriculum, right, will be designed in that, to reflect all of those things that we would have answered in the purpose of the education we want for ourselves, in what we want education to do for us. And it's in that vision that we will now design a curriculum that would speak to the vision. It would outline the objectives, how we would implement it and what have you. Now that curriculum that we've sort of like scoped and designed as like the path or the framework that'll help us achieve that vision, that curriculum will now also help us to shape how we would design the way that we would train, the way that we recruit teachers, the profile of the kind of teachers that would help us achieve those objectives, that'll help us achieve that vision. And that will now inform, right, the way that we would, train the teachers, work within the colleges of education to ensure that the crop of people who are getting in first are those that would help achieve that vision. And then, the things that we've outlined in that curriculum are now the things that would, the way that we want those teachers to teach, so that the students that we want, the citizens we want for our country, are embedding, whether it's those values, the qualities, the characteristics that would have highlighted, in that vision alongside the curriculum. And then that would happen. And then we'll take it a step further, based on all of this, what should policy look like so that the environment is enabled for all of these different things to happen, right? What should our regulators be doing? How should that look? What standards should we have in place? And so I don't think that we would accomplish a redesign without asking ourselves first, education for what? And we haven't done that yet in this country, and that's why we keep going back and forth, up and down. And so we need to, first of all, define for ourselves what we want education to do for Nigeria. What do we want? Like, where do we even want Nigeria to be in the next 50, in the next 100 years, or whatever it is? How do we now start to plan for that through our curriculum, through our education, through the teachers that we're going to recruit and invest in, through the policies that we're going to, set up and ensure that we follow, through the leadership as well that would put in the different places to drive, this vision. It's going to require a lot of leadership because it's also not enough to talk about this. But what then, differentiates between whether this will just be a talk shop or whether it would work is leadership. So, at the core of all the things that I've said is the right people who are able to then drive this to fruition.
Thank you. I know Rufuke is eager to ask a question, but we said something that actually caught him our attention. You said there is a need for us to find the purpose for education in Nigeria. Yes, Teach for Nigeria has been looking for transformational leaders. We have different types of leader. I will allow Rufuke to please proceed to your question.
Okay, from what you said last, I picked a point that we shouldn't do the norm. Like we should find a reason for education. We shouldn't just say, oh, let me just go to school and have my certificates and just get a job. So we shouldn't continue like that if we want a change actually. So now looking at our parents as our major stakeholders, how can we help them? Like, how can they attain that role? Because I once had an issue in my class. There's this learner that comes late. Like the earliest he comes to school is 9 a.m. At 9 a.m. the first period is over by 9 a.m. So the school started complaining. Someone, my class teacher, told her to find a solution. And so she took steps. At some point she got tired. Then I called the boy, why do you come late to school? So he gave me some reasons. He said he has to fetch water, and then water is very scarce this period. So he said he has to fetch water for his grandma. He lives with his grandma to cook, so that when he comes back from school, he will cook it. So the school followed the normal procedure, but there was no change. So my co-teacher almost gave up. She was like, Funke, I'm going to give up on this. I said, Ma, please don't give up. We've started this. We need to see the end of this. If you stop here, it means it will continue coming late. So when I told her that, she had to take him to the office, to the assistant's office, and then she spoke with him. Well, I don't know what that did to him, but eventually the following day, it changed. Although his mother was invited along the line, she was like, there's nothing she can do. He stays with the grandma. There's nothing she can do. But fortunately for us, after he was invited to the office, the learner now, he came earlier the following day. Then subsequent times he has been coming early. And each time he comes, he say, Miss Funke, the first time he did that, I gave him a shake. And I told everyone to give him a love clap. He was happy. I think that also encouraged him. So now our parents, they play a major role.
Absolutely.
So how can they help them realize this? Because most parents some don't even value it. They don't see a reason for it. They just believe their child should work for them, help the finances of the family. How can we help them realize this? That we need them to support their children to get an excellent education.
No, thank you so much for sharing the story. What's his name, the boy? Wasiri. You know, thank you so much for sharing his story. And I couldn't agree more with you that parents play a significant role, you know, in the education of their children. In fact, one of the things that I know is that education is some sort of like a tripod, you know, and so there is the students, the teacher, and so there's like the teacher, the school system, the parent, and the students. Like those are like the, you know, the three components in that tripod. And I'm sure people can extend it, but you know why I'm saying that is so if the parent's role is taken out of it, then then you have a faulty tripod. So you know when I think about first just why some parents probably have lost hope. You know, I remember a story of a mother that I was walking through the market, and I remember she had a daughter who was of school age with her. And, you know, I had a conversation with her where I was asking why her daughter wasn't in school. And this woman said to me, and you could see like the anger and pain even in her eyes. And she said to me that, what's the point of sending her to school? Her older sister, who I sent to school and sold all my assets and sold everything and did everything for her to go to a polytechnic, and she finished school. She's also here with me in the market. She just went to buy something, that's why she's not here. So what's the point of education? What's the point when if she starts to do this and down the line it's a faster way and faster assurance and guarantee to having her gain the skills and gain the resources that she'll need to live a full life. And so when I think about the side of parents, the fact that they don't see the value because of the quality of education that a lot of their children and a lot of the examples they have around them have received. What is the essence of education when you go through a school system for 12 plus years, and at the end of it you still do not have the skills, the knowledge and the mindset needed for you to function as a human being and contribute to your own self-development and to your community development and society development. So it's like, why am I investing all of that time, right? But I know that because it has happened over a period of time, for many, many years, where the value of education has just been reduced. And so people don't see it as that path to, attaining a better future and to breaking the cycle of poverty. Because at the end of the day, I want to go to school and know that when I come out of this, I'm going to be better off, right? And, and I'm going to be able to, become whatever that I choose to be. But it's not doing that for them, right? And so when you think about this and think about, again, I'm still going to answer your question, but I just want to sort of like take us on that journey to the answer. And I think about the pandemic. I think if there was anything that period did for us, and during the lockdown, it helped us to reveal the very significant role that parents play. So if we used to pay lip service to, parents should be engaged and parents should be involved, I think that whole pandemic just showcased, like, teachers became facilitators, which is actually what they should be, and parents were playing a much more pivotal role in the learning process of their children. Parents were engaging the teachers more. They were, reaching out to get more resources to support their children, to get feedback on like how the children are faring with some of the tasks that they're giving them, to find out what they could share with the students and their children rather. And they were playing it was almost like a switched role, right? And so when I educate and reorientate reorient? Yeah, I think it's reorient. How can we reorient parents? How can we re-educate parents? How can we, take literally the lessons that we saw from this lockdown period, during the pandemic, and then amplify that to help parents see their roles, whether or not, kids are in school. How do you continue to play this very visible and present role in the learning process of your children? And I don't think that we've done a good job as educators to a point where, the people who are making decisions, the people who are driving policies, right, they know, like, they and maybe to share an example, just so that I don't lose you. I was having a conversation once with someone who is my mentor. He used to be the former Minister for Education in Zimbabwe. The program, yes, the program has only existed in Lagos, Ogun State, and in Kaduna State, but today we have alumni who are working in the Ministry of Education in Oyo State, in Ogun State. We have an alumnus who is currently working with the Ministry of Social Development and Gender in Edo State.
At achieving their own profit, and won't be channeling the effort towards the educational inequity that we are fighting. How are we to advise, or let me ask, how will you advise the private sector to join hands with the government in moving education forward?
I think you said it, Sulaiman. You said it there, like it's to join hands, right? I think this problem that we're trying to address is a problem that is too big for any one person or any one sector or any one entity to say that they're the ones that can solve it and that can provide the solution to it. And I think in your question, you had join hands. The answer there is collaboration. The answer there is true, authentic partnership. I think what it is really is private sector, needs to engage with public sector to even understand what their issues are, to even understand what the challenges are, to understand what their plans are, their goals, their objectives, right? And to operate from a place to complement, to support, to collaborate, to help accelerate the desired impact or goal or vision that has been set and contribute to that. And I think, it's about time for everyone who is doing something, whether within education or within skills development for our youth and our young people. I think it's about time for them to start talking. It's about time for them to start being aware of what each other, one another is doing. It's about time for them to have knowledge of what different people are doing and how they contribute. And kudos to the work that you all are doing, because I think media has a significant role to play in that, with just showcasing and creating the awareness of what is happening within the sector. But I think it's also just having the humility, right, to work together with people from different perspectives and different backgrounds, whether in public sector, whether in private sector, whether multinationals, whether NGOs and what have you, right? We need to talk, but in also talking, we also need to figure out a way to work together to complement one another's effort. There are too many people who are working in silo, and it's not going to get us. There's one, I can't remember, I think it's an Asian quote or proverb that talks about, if you want to go quick, no, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, right? And so really this is what I would say that the only path, right, to getting us far and to getting us to deeper impact and accelerated impact. How do we all leverage one another's strength, one another's insight and knowledge and experience, and work together and collaborate and not have to reinvent the wheel, and see how we can, push the agenda for education, through that collaborative partnership.
Thank you so much. Like we all know, education is now different from the way it is perceived then, like this 24th century. Teach for Nigeria have been longing for transformational leader. We have different types of leader, transactional, autocratic, democratic. Why transformational leaders?
When you think about the Nigeria that we are at today, and you think about what is required for Nigeria to fulfill her potential, what we need are reformers, people who are change agents, who are going to transform the status quo that it is, that Nigeria currently, is. And it's only transformative leadership that can get that done. It's only leaders who are change agents, leaders who are selfless, leaders who, are not looking for immediate gratification. That kind of leadership is the leadership that will get Nigeria to where it needs to be. And that's what we're going to have to invest in. And that's what we're also going to have to invest in, not just in our young Nigerians, but even in our future generation who are currently in the classroom now. We need them to be transformative in their thinking. What is it that they would need to have so that when they put it out in the world, the result is to transform the current state of things, is to transform the current way of operating, the current mindset that we all have, or that general and average Nigerians have, and so that's why we don't want transactional, because, we can transact on this way that Nigeria currently is, but we're saying that, this shouldn't be our modus operandi. This shouldn't be how our country, our society should operate. We need to transform minds. We need to transform the ways of doing things. And the only way that we're going to get through that and get, to that vision of the Nigeria we want is through transformative leadership.
Thanks so much. Finally, on behalf of all the transformational leaders that we have outside there, and on behalf of the innocent children outside there that you have we've seen excitement, like genuine happiness in the four walls of classroom, unlike then where it's always been enforcement, do must go. But like you all know, enlightenment is the father of enforcement. Fair teach for Nigeria, we've been able to learn. Wow, we've been enlightened. This is what education is. We are not just teaching, we are to impact. Now, as regards the transformational leaders, is there check and balance on them? I know we have coaches, we have people that are trying that field, but what in case someone wants to serve as a stench to the standard that TFN have curated? Is there check and balance?
I mean, it's one of the things, thank you so much for that question. I think around the leaders that we recruit and the fellows that we place in our different schools, I think with every year, right, and with every stage, we continue to evolve our processes. We continue to learn, from some of the experiences. Like one of the things that we do is constantly using data and evidence to inform our processes, our procedures, and to build systems, right? There are things that we were doing that we do now that we didn't do in 2017. There are things that we do now that we didn't do, like 2 years ago, right? And it's all informed by the experiences that we're having. And one of the things that, that, and my team and myself, I think we all agree that, the best place, right, to ensure that we are able to guarantee the quality of the individuals that we're bringing. And when I say quality, I'm not only speaking to academic competencies, I'm speaking to the fit, the mindset, the characteristics, the values, right? The best place to assess and really check for that is prior to joining the fellowship. And so one of the questions is, how do we strengthen and improve and solidify that first stage of just even bringing in the candidates and bringing in the prospective fellows, into our program? What more can we do, to really build a more robust system that helps us to check and select and support? And one of the things that we're also looking at is strengthening a path to even exit, right? How do we also, check people out? We wouldn't want to do, because it's a lot of investment from recruiting to training and what have you. But in the event that, obviously there's some non-negotiables, that certain things happen, which go against the values and the core raison d'etre of the organization, how do we ensure that there's a process that takes these individuals out, right? And it's one of the things that we're currently working on and investing in to say, how does the exit process work? What do we do in getting, fellows out who are not, abiding by the values of the program and who are not, representing themselves as ambassadors of the fellowship program and as ambassadors of being a transformational leader, as you said. So I feel like it's one of the things that keep us up at night, where myself and the team are constantly reinventing and just innovating around the challenges that we're seeing and that we're experiencing, and trying to come up with solutions to address it as we go through.
Thank you from all of us from Western Nigerian publication. We say thank you, and we feel elated to have you on the show. Olufun Kepena, do you have anything for us?
Well, I'll say it has been an enlightening session. It's been educative. I've learned a lot.
Oh,
thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the brilliant questions too. I enjoyed engaging with you.
Thank you, viewers. Really appreciate you for your time. Thank you so much, and we do hope next time we need you anytime.
Oh yes, anytime, anytime.
Like I said, we feel elated to have you. It's a real privilege. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. My privilege. Thank you so much. Thank you.